Hello everyone and welcome to Info Talks. My name is Rajesh Sequeira, your web host for today's talk show. Before we start, a little bit of housekeeping. If you have got any queries, please share it in the chat box and we will answer all your questions once we finish our presentation. So today we would be talking about home composting. Well, our main speaker is Sudha Velugula. She is an engineer by profession and has worked in the IT industry for 15 years. And for the past 5 years, she has taken attention to eco-friendly and chemical-free living. She deals with urban composting solutions. I met her in February and I was quite impressed how she was doing home composting. And today she's here to talk about home composting. So now I call upon Mrs. Sudha to tell about home composting. Here you go, Sudha.
Thank you very much, Rajesh. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. We are here to help. I think the objective of this whole presentation is to give you an understanding of what is home composting, whether it's possible or not, the possible problems you might have, and things like that. So we, like Rajesh said, we will answer all your questions at the end. We are just going to run you through a few slides. A little bit about me, like Rajesh said, I worked in the IT for a long time. And then I took a backseat for some time. And that is when I found time to actually focus on other things that I have been interested in. But like chemical-free living and things like that. When it came to composting, I thought, why not? When I saw the YouTube videos and all that, they were like, it's so damn easy. It's just a very simple process. And so I thought, if it is as simple as that, why not give it a try? And that's how I started composting about 5 years back. Well, composting is a very, very simple and a very easy process for sure, 100%. But if you don't know the ins and outs of it, there are a few issues that can totally throw you out of track. And those issues, no matter how small they are, they are the reason why I feel most of the people don't do home composting. So that's the reason why we thought we can have this show today, is to help you understand that it is a very, very doable thing and how easy it is. So when I started composting, looking at the YouTube videos, of course, I had a lot of problems. I had a balcony full of maggots. I had flies running around, so much so that, my husband was really fed up with all my experiments, and my house help gave me a notice. Instead of me telling him something, he's the one who gave me a notice and said, I think you should stop all this if you want me to work for you. All these things happen. Anyways, as and when I proceeded, when I found problems, I tried to sort out these problems. However, looking at the internet, trying out different things, what occurred to me and all that. In this process, I landed up with one of the days when I was looking at the other options which are available, I landed up on the Daily Dump website. Now, I can see a few of you are from India. So I don't know if you guys know about Daily Dump. Daily Dump has been in the business of composting from 2000. Actually, they have started much earlier, but they became a company and launched it in 2006 onwards. They have really, really very, very innovative products. They keep innovative. They keep bringing in new products. They have composting solutions for homes, gardens, communities, which are schools, hotels. These have been tried and tested, and they've got lots of awards. I think they even got the Swachh Bharat award also. So when I saw their website, I went into the products and saw what suited me most. And then I saw Google. And when I saw that, because I've gone through a lot of problems, I know exactly what problems happen when you start an aerobic composting. So when I looked at Google and I read how the product has been constructed, I was amazed. I thought this is the easiest and the best thing that can happen for anybody and everybody who wants to do composting in an urban setting and for a 9 to 5 kind of a person. When I say 9 to 5 kind of a person, what I mean is, see, I know a few people who are interested in environment and who are totally dedicated to it. So in a day, if they have to spend 10-15 minutes every day to do composting work, they don't mind. They think it is their duty. I'm not talking about people like that. People like that will compost anyhow. They will do anything and everything they can for the environment. So those people are not the people I'm talking about. I'm specifically talking about that person for whom composting, to compost waste is an intention, but they don't have really all that time to dedicate to composting, and they don't want to spend hours and minutes, or even they don't have the time. They have so many responsibilities and things like that. So how I went to India, I got a gobble from India. I got all the necessary things from India. I had to stand at the customs for about half an hour explaining to him what each of those things does. And then I started composting maybe 4 years back. I started composting it with gobble at home. And that was one of the most amazing things I had done. And I was so happy with it. So I was so passion driven that this is something that people need in Dubai, because at that point in time, as far as I know, bokashi was the only thing which was available in Dubai that would help people compost at home. Or you should have a huge yard and you wouldn't mind, flies and all those things. And I was living in an apartment, and for me to compost very successfully in an apartment, and not just vegetable peels, fruit peels, but even non-veg, bones, dairy, everything that sometimes internet says that you can't compost, I was doing everything with the gobble. So I was thinking this is exactly what Dubai needs. And that's how I got into the business of home composting. I brought gobble to UAE, and that's how the story started. Anyways, we'll talk about, if any of you want to know more about that, we'll talk later. Now I want to take you through few slides, which will help you maybe to get us all to the same page in terms of thinking about home composting. Yeah, I'm just going to share my screen. I have dealt with customers in the past 2-3 years that have been dealing with the home composting solutions and gobble. Many people actually wonder if it is really necessary for them to do composting at home and what difference it makes and things like that. So I thought it will be nice to go through that again with you guys, just so that you know that there are reasons. There is when people do composting, what happens? The first and the foremost thing that many people think is, if I have a garden, then only I should compost. Otherwise, what I will do with all the compost I have? So many people have this link between gardens and composting. Many people have said, I have no reason to do composting because I don't have a garden. The point of composting is to be responsible and to clean up after yourself or myself. Let me put it in personal terms. Because it is my waste and it is my responsibility to clean it up. And if I don't clean it up, what's happening to the waste I generate? I am contributing to the land, sea, and to the air pollutions. So the first thing as to why a person needs to compost is very, very simple. It is a simple responsibility. Just like when you have kids, it's our responsibility to bring them up. It's the same thing. You are generating waste, so you need to take care of it. Secondly, we are inhabiting an earth with other life forms, trees, animals, and all that. If you are not composting and contributing to the pollution, I mean, I can't imagine any other life form being so irresponsible to us. Maybe we would understand it better if one of the other life forms throws their waste at us and, asks us to deal with it. But since that is not the case, we are the ones who are doing it. Many of us don't realize the extent to which we are bothering other life forms, both human beings and others, by polluting the environment. Then I think COVID-19 should have brought us to a stage, at least many of us, if we have not thought about it before, like the earth is doing a reset. And it's a result of a lot of problems that are accumulated from the past. At least that's what I feel. Maybe, the COVID spread is just a small part of it. So if we want to leave, I think it's personally a responsible decision to leave the place in a better condition for our kids and for our future generations. Otherwise, just imagine what's going to happen. I'm sure you guys would have seen so many documentaries, they are available on the internet, about what will happen to Earth if we do not stop what we are doing now. So that's one big part of it. When you compost, you're being responsible. At least you're doing your bit to leave this earth a better place. If not a better place, at least not destroying it more than what it has already done. It is a global issue. And I wouldn't say if all of us compost, all problems are sorted out, because I think governments and other bodies also play a huge part in it, which I'm not denying. But see, the whole point is, if individual people are contributing and get involved in the solution, naturally the political parties, the governments and everything will be involved in the solution. If we do not show interest and if we do not want to get involved, I don't see any reason why they would make it a priority. The only way to make environment a priority in governments and in political, for leaders who are leading in political parties, I think the only way to do it is a lot of us get involved in working towards a better environment. Then the one important thing now, it's coming to what is, I know that in places like US and other places, even in some countries in Europe, they have this community composting where the government collects the wet waste separately. Even in India, they are doing, I think in the Bangalore city, it's happening. They collect the wet waste separately and do composting. And, that's the way the thing works. And the residents have to split their wet waste and their dry waste. But more often than not, this is not possible. Or let us not even consider other countries. Let us take Dubai, for example. We are mixing our wet waste, our dry waste, everything into one bag and throwing it down the tube. Because of this, because we are mixing our biodegradable waste with non-biodegradable waste, separating the waste is an issue, is an impossible issue for the governments. We all have seen the dump trucks taking the thing. It's simply impossible to separate the recyclable material from the non-recyclable waste. Suppose if all of us remove the biodegradable waste from the waste we are throwing out, this issue gets automatically sorted. Then sorting out the plastic, the glass, and the paper and all that becomes much, much easier. And when separating of waste becomes easier, we are all lending a very helpful hand towards recycling. The industries which are focused on recycling the waste. So that is another big help. So I would say these are reasons enough for anybody and everybody to start home composting, to start composting at home. Now, that being said, if I want to compost at home, what are the things I should consider? What is the best solution for me? Now, this is a very tricky question because it depends. There is no one solution that fits all. It depends on where you are and the resources you have at hand. For example, the amount of brown matter you have at hand, the amount of space you have at hand, the amount of brown matter, composting happens between wet waste and brown matter. If you don't have enough brown matter where you can mix with your wet waste, then there is no composting happening. Then your waste only rots. So if you don't have the brown matter, then it becomes a big issue. Then space. If you have a huge yard, you can dig a pit at the corner of your yard and put your waste in a pit and forget about it. Even if there are flies or rodents, they'll be only in that corner and you are not being bothered by it because you have a lot of space. So that is another thing. And third and most important is the time, the amount of time you have and the amount of effort you're willing to put in it. If you take an urban setting like Dubai, for example, or even in India, all the major metropolitan, now even the second tier towns have become a bustling places thanks to COVID, because people have gone back home and things like that. So if you're not sleeping, if you're not living in a slow paced life, you don't have time for composting. You have other things to look at, like earning money, your kids, your housework, and so many other things. So if you have the time, you can have other things where you can have composting processes where you have to turn it over every day. You have to make sure everything is mixed up, and all those things can be done. But if you don't have time on hand, then that is again a limitation which you should focus on when you're choosing the kind of composting you want to do. And the amount, even if you have the resources, the space and the time, but if you are not willing to put effort in this particular thing, I won't blame you. See, for most of us, composting is not the main thing in our lives. We have other things to do, and you don't want to spend 15 minutes, half an hour or 1 hour doing things. But there are people, let me assure you, there are people who are willing to put this kind of time in composting. There are hot composting processes and all that take a lot of your time. So all these things are the things to be considered when you are choosing a composting solution for yourself. Now, coming to the types of composting. Aerobic composting. It's very simple. Aerobic composting is composting that happens in the presence of air. So generally, when we have any kind of waste, aerobic composting is the best way to do it. For example, homesteads, you can see the picture, you put the vegetables, you put earth on it, or you have a pit, you put your waste and you put mud on it. Some people are doing it with, they have holes on the sides of a container, and they mix their brown matter and the wet matter inside these containers. All these things, where composting happens in the presence of air, it is aerobic composting. Anaerobic composting. Anaerobic composting is composting which happens in the absence of air. Now, this is a composting process which takes a long time for most part of it, and it has to be, usually it is done for things like sewage, because this kind of thing doesn't have, it gives out a lot of smell and lot of things. So the best thing is to keep it shut till no matter however long it takes, so that the composting gets done. And then we can make use of the compost that is available. So most of the anaerobic composting process is done with sewage and very, very smelly things. Now, coming to the third one, it's a combination. Now, bokashi is one more option which is available for home composting in Dubai. So I wanted to talk about it so you guys have an idea of how to deal with it. It's also prevalent in other places. I know there are solutions available in India also, which are similar to bokashi, but they don't call it bokashi. So what is bokashi about? Bokashi is it's a combination of both aerobic and anaerobic composting. What happens is you have the bokashi bin at home, And what you do is you get your wet waste and you put it inside the bin, and then you have something called the bokashi bran. Bokashi bran is nothing but it's some organic material which has a lot of microbes in it. So these microbes, when they come in touch with water from the food, they start getting very active. So what happens is we have to keep filling the bokashi bin. You have to put your waste and then sprinkle it with the bokashi bran on the top. Keep doing it till the bin gets filled up. And once it gets filled up, the right way of doing bokashi thing is you have to leave the bin for 15 days like that, at a period of 2 weeks, so that the waste which is in the bin is totally and thoroughly pickled with all the microbes which are in the bokashi bran. After 2 weeks, either you combine it with 10 times the brown matter if it's available for you. If it is not available, at least 5 times the brown matter, 5 times the amount of wet waste in brown matter, and combine it. And you have to, the best thing would be to dig a pit and drop the whatever it's accumulated in your bokashi bin into the pit and close the pit and leave the pit for 1.5 to 2 months, where the composting happens in an aerobic thing, where the juices from the food are absorbed into the soil. And after 1.5 to 2 months, you dig up the soil and you take the compost out and use it. So it is a combination of, if you don't have place to dig a pit, but if you have the big enough container and you have the required amount of brown material, you can also do it in aerated containers. That means containers where the air can go in. Only thing is you have to mix it up with at least 5 times the amount of brown matter, so that the composting happens without much smell and other things. So that's about the types of composting. Now this is the Daily Dump website. Now we are going into Gobble, and I'm going to explain how Gobble works and how things work. You can see on the screen, you can see some of the solutions from Daily Dump. They have for home composting, they have terracotta pots, and they have for community composting and for garden composting. If any of you are interested, I've given the URL on the top. You can go to the URL and check out their website. They have a lot of information on composting, lot of related information. They are doing an awesome job of, explaining. If you have the time and if you have the intention, there's lots you can learn from that website. Okay, now coming to Gobble. Now, Gobble it occupies very, as you can see, it is a stack of 4 buckets. I'm talking about the senior Gobble. It is a stack of 4 buckets. It needs very, very less space. It's only about how much a small bucket will occupy, only that much. It's very, very simple to use. After this, I'm going to run a short video so that you guys can understand how the Gobble works. I'll also deal with any questions you have later. It needs very, very little time. That means what? All that is required is put the waste, put the remix powder on the top, and your job is done. That's it. If you do exactly like what we ask you to do, you will have absolutely no smell, no flies. It is not out of the top expensive. It's very affordable. It's very easy to manage. And most important thing is, for those of you, I think even in India, when you buy a Gobble or any composter from Daily Dump, they're always open for support. In UAE, if you want to buy a Gobble and do your composting, we are always there. We will always handhold you, for at least for your first 2 compost cycles till you get your procedure correct. So that is a way that I think is a major initiative, because any problem you have, all you have to do is just send us a message in WhatsApp or call us, and we will be at your beck and call. In an urban setting where you have less space, less time, and don't want to have flies and smell and things like that, I think gobble is a perfect solution in an urban setting.
It's visible.
Okay. That's about the information that I wanted to share with you. I'm open to answer questions and or any questions you might have, but I think before that, Rajesh wants to share his experience.
Yeah, I would love
Then
to
we
share
will
my
leave the
experience because from February onwards and started home composting, and it was really successful. I would like to share my experience now. So I started my journey. Well, this is about sustainable living. What does sustainable living means? Sustainable living describes a lifestyle that attempts to reduce an individual's or society's use of earth, natural resources, and one's personal resources. It is often called as earth harmony living or net zero living. This is just an explanation about sustainable living. So what my practice is, before I do anything, before I practice something, before I preach something, I practice that. And that is the way my main thing was no wastage of food, no wastage of electricity, no wastage of water, and avoid plastic usage. You know, the usage what we have been doing it's so much that it's really spoiling our environment. So plastic usage to be minimal, and take normal bags while you're shopping. So here, how I go about. So what I do is a separate waste, a wet waste and a dry waste. So wet waste is put in the gobble. This is how I go about. I started my journey, as I said, on Feb 18, 2021, where I got my first gobble and started home composting. On 18 February, these are the things which I did. And here you can see the orange peels, the banana peels, onion peels, everything was put in the gobble with the remix powder. 1st March, I added some turmeric as well as the neem powder just to have as a precautionary measures if any flies come in. But I didn't find any of these problems. Okay, on the 10th March, my bucket was full. The first bucket was full, and the 18th March 2021, I did a good remix of this. And yes, on 27th April, my whole compost was ready. It's almost 2 months my compost was ready. The whole journey took me 2 months. Well, how do I save my waste now? So if you see, my wet waste takes almost 50% of my wastage. So 50% of my wastage is saved by all my wet waste. Other 50%, okay, what I do is I segregate my waste. Before that, wherever I go, that is especially Carrefour or Lulu, wherever I go, I carry my own bag and thereby reducing plastic waste. And when you go to Carrefour, you get some points for using your Carrefour bag. So this is an added advantage what you have. Now, dry waste, when I segregate, where do I throw it? Now, there are some spots where you have the recycling centers. Now, normally where I go is Karama. Near the Karama Park, you can find this Verda. They have got this recycling center, and you separate all the dry waste. What you have, the plastic bottles, the aluminum cans, or anything like that. You just segregate and put in this recycling center. Okay, so that's it. That's the short story of myself, how I have been doing saving the nature basically. So that's it. Can boiled stuff be used in bokashi composting? Sudha,
What?
boiled stuff can be used in bokashi composting.
Okay, if you mean cooked food, I think you mean the cooked food.
Yes.
I guess so. I'm not so sure. I didn't do bokashi composting. So I think it can be used. But that's only an assumption. I'm not sure. But in gobble, yes, you can use cooked food, you can use dairy, you can use your non-veg, everything.
So what is the difference between bokashi and gobble?
Gobble is only aerobic composting. From the start to the finish, it's one single thing. There is a lot of difference. Bokashi is a two-stage composting. The first stage, as I explained, is anaerobic, and the second stage is aerobic. And you need enough amount of brown matter and bokashi bran to deal with gobble, and also to deal with bokashi. And in bokashi, you also need to remove the water from the can every day. You can't, because there is a lot of water generated when the waste gets pickled. All those things are not there with gobble. With gobble, all you need to do is just put the waste, learn how much remix powder to put, and that's it, your job is done.
So what is the difference? You have 4 buckets there. What is the difference between the 4 buckets?
There is no difference. The idea of having 4 buckets is to see, if you have one single bucket, what happens is you keep on putting your waste, and when the big container gets filled up, the bottom may be composted, but the top is not composted, and you cannot reach the bottom without you removing the top. It becomes a very cumbersome thing, and then you have to leave the whole container like that, so that everything gets composted and things like that. You have to leave it, and then you have to start another big container. But the idea of splitting, having different buckets, is having small amount of composted at stages, so that you can, it is not like you have to wait for the whole thing to be done at one go. And when you have big single big containers, what happens is, once you fill up the container, you don't have space to put your waste. Your waste is not composted yet. So what you do is you keep throwing your waste out. So that's not the point. The point of gobble is to make sure nothing biodegradable leaves your house. So that being the case, what happens is As and when, little by little, the compost gets done, the buckets get empty, and you keep putting your waste in the gobble only. You're not throwing your waste. That's the idea behind having different buckets and gobble.
Okay. Some have asked for the slides. Anyway, no, not to worry, because this will be uploaded in the YouTube, and the link will be shared. Anybody wants to know about more about home composting, you can see it in the YouTube through my channel or through News Karnataka channel. So basically, if you want to have a look, you can contact me. And if anybody wants to know more about Gobble, or you want to purchase Gobble, you can contact Sudha. Sudha, you can give your contact number. Can you just mention your contact number?
In the chat?
Yeah, you can just mention it verbally.
Okay, my number is +971 55 554 6858.
Kindly repeat.
+971 55 554 6858.
Okay, thank you. If you have any other questions, you can ask. I think so. These are the, yeah. That's it. It's nice to see a few of the responsible people have joined, and it's taken care of environment. This is just a start what we are doing, and we can help the nature. If we can do some things in our house, we can save the nature. Well,
Yeah,
let me see.
Thanks, Rajesh, for the initiative, and thanks for the presentation. It was really wonderful. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, can we? I mean, what about like fish and the sea? Like bones or?
Yes.
Can that also be used for?
Yes. Fish and fish bones get composted very easily. That is not a problem. But even your chicken and lamb bones and all those also, the inside, the bones get totally bleached, both from the outside and the inside. The calcium remains because that is a little bit hard to compost.
Correct.
But if you have big trees or big pots where you have stabilized plants, if you just plant these bleached bones in them, they slowly release the calcium, which is very good for the plants. So they come to a stage where they are no longer have the flesh or anything, or they don't even smell bad.
All right. Likewise, what about about dairy, like meat? Like there are some waste parts which we generally fat or something we throw away.
Yes, you can throw all of them in the compost, in the gobble, and everything will get done. Absolutely no issues.
Okay.
You just need to know how much remix powder to put. That's it.
Okay. And in cooked food, generally there will be some kind of spice also. Like, does that affect, or is it adverse for composting?
See, yeah. If you, we are not going to put big vessels of sambar in the gobble, right?
Correct,
if you're going to do that, it's not. But if you have a small cup which is left over, it doesn't do much any bad at all. Okay. But I am assuming when I say food waste is okay, I'm assuming that you guys are not going to put, bowlfuls of curry in it and things like that.
Yeah, it's basically generally the, like the leaves or something which remains in the.
Exactly. Those have to be put in gobble. Yes. Anything that's biodegradable. Hair, flowers, matchsticks, soft tissues, anything, even, this spoons, these bamboo spoons, everything that come with your thing, everything can be put. Some of them will not be done in one cycle. So you just have to, when you sieve your compost, you just have to put them back into the next bucket so that they will get done. So that's not an issue.
Okay, as you mentioned, even tissues can be put.
Yes, soft tissues can be put.
Okay. Right. Thanks for the information. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks, Rajesh, once again. Yeah.
Thanks, Hanson. Yeah, we are doing a small initiative so that at least by doing small things, we can actually do it. Actually, during the COVID, I saw the dustbins getting so full. We used to have only one bin here. During COVID, it has become doubled up. Yeah, that's the thing. I thought I should do something, and I started off. It really successful, and Sudha has really helped me out. Although I've been doing composting for a long time in my place, Like, you just put everything in the, just dig a hole and put, that's the way how we used to do in India.
Correct.
So this is just a way how we can do it abroad through Gobble. Thanks, Hansen.
Yeah.
I believe there are no questions now. Once again, thank you one and all for joining. Surely we are going to have more shows like this and getting more awareness on home composting and any other things also on more concern to nature. So be in touch with me, do watch my shows and do cooperate. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sudha.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.